Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is Wednesday morning here in Taiwan. The earth's been shaking, and we were having earthquakes all night. And my wife came in and woke me up, and she said, "Husband, there's an earthquake." And in my mind, I said, "We don't negotiate with earthquakes." So I went straight back to sleep, and it's been shaking all night. Now, our guest today is an internationally recognised expert in parenting, childhood trauma, and has been named the top advocate and professor for human rights. And today she's going to show you how to heal from trauma and conflict. So welcome to the live stream, Dr. Sue. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm so happy to be here on with you this morning. I mean, here where I am in the States, it is nighttime, but you're a little bit ahead of us, so good morning.
Thank you so much. I remember the last time we met, I was on your show, Dr. Sue and You, and I think I was awake at 3 a.m. in the morning, ready to go there for you. So thank you for getting up early for me. And here in Taiwan, 6 o'clock, I remember when I was cabin crew, we used to have these crazy flights. We'd wake up at 11 a.m. in the morning to fly out of Dubai at 3 a.m. By the time I got to the west coast of America, 16 hours later, I'd had about 8 main meals.
Yeah, I mean, the time difference is difficult, but these issues are very important to talk about and getting the message out to the world right now. I think so many people in so many different areas of their life are in trauma and conflict with everything that's been going on all over the world lately. I mean, with COVID happening, and then what's happening with Russia and the Ukraine. There's trauma all around us all the time.
It is, and it's very visible. I was saying to one of my clients last night, I've been trying to understand the world through this little square window. It's either my digital device, my mobile phone, or my computer, but we're being inundated with it. And I was looking at some statistics today. At least 1 in 7 children in America have been abused or neglected in the past. We've also learned that in 2019, 1,840 children died of abuse and neglect. And each day, more than 1,000 youth are treated in emergency departments for physical assault related to injuries.
Yes.
Now, this is a big problem. And in your field, what problem are you helping your client to overcome?
Well, in the field that I work in, and what I'm known for most is high conflict divorces, where one parent is using the child as a weapon to hurt the other parent, meaning they are trying to keep the child from that parent in order to hurt them. So what we say in my field is that these are parents that care much more about destroying the parent than the love for the child. But what I'm really trying to do in my work is more than just providing suggestions on what to do. What I'm really trying to do is work with people who may dislike each other, or who may not get along, and learn how to resolve conflicts within their life with compassion. There's not one person on this earth that hasn't been affected by something within your life. And if you're saying that you haven't had anything, what I say is you're in denial, because we've all been through something. And, we're either in conflict with ourselves on a daily basis. People forget that. And a lot of times when we're in conflict with ourselves, we don't want to deal with that. We push it down. And what ends up happening is we take it out on others. So I try to work with these two parties, these parents, to really have some kind of compassion for each other and take the child out of the middle, because it is the child who is getting hurt the most when parents cannot resolve the conflicts between the two of them.
That word, weapon, it's such an interesting word. And the first time I heard about that was when a friend of mine, him and his partner separated, And I remember he put on Facebook a post that said, "My child is being used as a weapon against me." And it carried so much weight. There was so much gravity in that in that word. So this topic, I understand, and if, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been to Dr. Sue's website as of yet, make sure you go. It's Dr. Sue and You. And scroll all the way down to the bottom of the website, and you're going to see a movie that Dr. Sue is featured in. They've taken the top experts from America, and they're breaking down divorce. Now, you spoke about this in the movie. Can you quickly talk to us about this movie? Because this is on Amazon Prime, and it's going to make a huge impact in people's lives. Can you give us a oversight of the movie?
Of course. So this was a documentary that was made, I think, in 2019, right before COVID had hit. And it is called No One Dies from Divorce. It was a book that was written by an attorney known as Jill Coyle. And she wrote in the book how people do not die from the trauma of divorce, but actually can have a life beyond divorce. And it was the top experts in the field in divorce and trauma within the world. I was very lucky to be selected as one of these individuals. And I talked mostly about in the documentary about how to resolve these conflicts and how by not resolving them, you're not only hurting yourself, but you're hurting your children as well. And that it is always better in any conflict, to take the high road, not taking the road of destruction. And that goes beyond divorce. It goes within anything that you're having a conflict with anyone else, because you don't know what the other person has gone through in their own lives to engage in this kind of conflict. And if you can look at the other person's side at all and look at what they are going through in life, I bet that your mind would open up a little, because isn't that what you want them to do for you? And the bottom line was, if you are having any kind of conflict within your life, even a divorce, it is always better to not go alone and to work with somebody that can really be your teammate in this and help you to understand who you are first. Because if you can't understand who you are inside, you certainly cannot relate to others, especially others that are coming at you with conflict. You have to have that compassion.
That word conflict, it sends chills up and down so many people's spines.
I know.
I speak to people every year and they say, "Daniel, I want to avoid conflict. I want to avoid the conflict." But does avoiding the conflict, Dr. Sue, solve the conflict? Or does it make it worse?
Great question. Actually, it makes it worse, okay? Because when we are trying to avoid conflict, nothing gets resolved. And so it takes so much more energy to hold a grudge or focus on anger than it ever will to let go of the anger that you are holding in. When you are able to let go of conflict or anger towards somebody else, you're freeing yourself up. And that is the most important part here, not punishing the other person, but freeing yourself up to be able to live a life where you are living in peace. And I don't think people understand that. They think when they're punishing the other person or they're holding the conflict, that they're really punishing that person, but really you're punishing yourself.
I love what you said in the preview of the documentary. Negotiate and find something that you can live with. And I think that's so important. And I sat on that when I heard that. And I think that's so true in so many areas of our life. Something that you can actually live with. We can't always get exactly what we want, but I believe that we can find a way to get something that we can live with, and then we can move forward. So in your industry and working with your clients, what are some of the biggest challenges facing your clients? What's that challenge that they've got to overcome? What's that rock in the road for them?
Fear. Fear, which many people, have different meanings for that. But a lot of times how I like to refer to that is false evidence appearing real. Let me talk about that for a minute. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but that's what fear is. It's false evidence appearing real. Meaning, yes, you are afraid, but the stories that you're telling yourself oftentimes about the other person are not true. And so when you're telling yourselves those stories, that's what you start to believe. And then the fear starts to build up in you. And then you're afraid if you go forward and you take a chance and you do something that is going to result in a negative way. We break through that fear in two ways. And people don't really understand this. And when I say it, they're like, really? And I say, yes. The way to break through fear is to really do work on yourself and go inside yourself and explore where those fears are coming from. And I guarantee you that those fears are coming from unresolved past issues in your life that you have not dealt with. We all have parts to us. And oftentimes we will stuff down the parts that we don't want to deal with. And if those parts are not resolved within us, then we lash out at other people, or we withdraw, or we do things like that. So I'm dealing with a whole population that is living in fear of what is going to happen next.
The fear of what's going to happen next.
Yes. And you know what, Daniel? We don't know what's going to happen next, right? We don't, just what you said, anticipation. I don't know what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. I don't know what's going to happen 2 seconds from now. But in our minds, if we believe that we can predict the future, that sets us up for more and more anxiety, which causes fear. So I tell my clients, and I would tell anybody this, if you're afraid of anything, live in the moment, because the past is gone and you cannot control the future.
I love it. And I love it because in the therapeutic work that I do with my clients, we attempt to resolve the fears from the past. And when we do our test to see if the fears disappeared, if they go out into the future and they experience anxiety in the future, then the problem is still in the past. And what I see is a lot of people dragging their past into their future, and they constantly pollute their future because they keep dragging that anger, those fears into the future, but also that anticipation. And some people, I believe that they even predict their own future, and then they create it, and then they focus on it, and then they start to attract it into their life. And we see this all of the time.
So do we. And I put a post up, I think, a couple weeks ago that talked about this. If you are looking for problems in your life, I promise you, you will find them.
They get inside the reticular activation system.
Exactly.
Where can I find more conflicts?
Exactly.
Where can I find more drama?
That's right. And that's what you are constantly bringing into your life, because you don't know how to live a different way. And patterns are difficult to break, but they are possible with working on yourself and really looking at why these conflictual patterns keep occurring with you and others.
So finding these coping mechanisms, in America, the average person spends around about $945 on education per year. They spend $118 on reading, but they spend $323 on tobacco and another $457 on alcohol. So when it comes to money's not the problem.
Right.
What do people have to do to invest in themselves first? What do they have to do to be able to invest in themselves first?
Look, I think that's another great question. And that's probably the most important part of becoming a successful, well-rounded person is investing in yourself, but asking yourself, what is it that I want? Who do I want to be? Defining that first, and then taking the steps to get there. What we say and what we do with our work is that if you cannot reconnect with yourself, you cannot connect with others. And I say reconnect because we disconnect from ourselves a lot when we don't want to deal with certain things that go on in our lives. But by not dealing with those important emotional issues, we are not being present with ourselves. And so, therefore, we cannot be present with others. So these are the kind of questions that you need to ask yourself. If you want a better life, if you want better relationships, if you want healthy relationships, it must start with you. You cannot be compassionate to others unless you are first compassionate to yourself. We cannot give to others what we have not given to ourselves. So I encourage you to think about that tonight or today. You are the catalyst to create more happiness in your life, and it starts by going within. Too many people, Daniel, think that others in their life can bring them happiness or meet their needs and everything's going to be okay. No one can really meet your needs unless you meet your own first.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you need to meet one need right now, and you've got to go and follow Dr. Sue. I'm going to post the links below in the live stream. Go to Dr. Sue's Facebook page and also go to her website, and please check out the documentary, and it will blow your mind. So, Dr. Sue, thank you so much for staying up late for us there in Philadelphia. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the live stream. Make sure you say hello in the live stream below. If you're watching us on the replay, type in replay, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day. Ciao for now.